Okay, we are back once again on the Get Foxy show. This time, we have the wonderful and lovely Chrisa T.S. Chrisa, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for having me, Terry.
You bet. Well, you came highly recommended from Laura DeFranco, who we had on the show just a few episodes back. And she said, you have to meet my friend Chrisa. And Chrisa, you have a fascinating profession and that you help women be more confident, especially if they're in kind of high profile areas and they're speaking on stage or they're in front of a lot of people. How in the world did you get into this kind of profession?
That was an interesting part of my journey. I started this career as I was trying to fulfill a childhood dream of speaking up. As a child, I was a really shy girl, and I was raised on the belief that a good girl should be a quiet one. And as a child, I was overhearing my parents fight a lot, and I was really passionate about speaking up, but I wasn't able to say a word. So I promised to myself at that point that when I grow up, I will speak up. I will speak up not only for me, but for all the people that cannot. Fast forward to now, I'm excited that I'm able to do that for other people, because we all have everything we need to confidently present ourselves on stage and speak up, share our message, share our ideas. We just need a little push and a tool set that we can use to make it happen.
As a girl, you say you didn't really get much of a chance to speak up. Now, do you feel that was kind of a cultural implication or a societal implication or a family implication or maybe combinations of all of that? What do you think the reasons were?
I think it was a personality trait that was coupled with the way my family was, the rules of my family. I've noticed that most women in the culture that I come from in Greece, they tend to speak up a lot. They are very vocal about their rights, about what they think it's right or wrong. And as I was growing up in the family environment and then the school and the society, I saw this mismatch. So I was lucky enough to find people in my journey that believed in me. And I say that's always key to a teenager's, especially in a teenager's life, that there are always negative people and positive people in our lives. And as the popular psychology says, the curses or the blessings in our life in the form of people. We always have someone that believes in us more than we believe in ourselves. And this is where the miracle happens, because all a teenager needs is a little push to believe that they are able to achieve their dreams. And that's what I had in my life, and I'm really grateful for all the people, the curses and the blessings.
It's interesting how sometimes we can derive inspiration from both sides. For example, in my own life, I had, excuse me, I had a professor who discouraged me from going into massage therapy school. I started out as a massage therapist and got into acupuncture school later on in life. But they were so adamant. No, you really shouldn't be doing this. That I got mad and I said, "Oh, I'll show you how I do this." And so to this day, I do thank God for that curse of a person, even though it was so discouraging to hear that from them. But yes, it's funny.
It's interesting what motivates people. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Since you mentioned your acupuncture, I have to tell you, earlier today I was at my acupuncturist, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to be a guest in this podcast," and she said, "The Get Foxy show?" And I say, "Yeah, the guy, he's an acupuncturist, right?" And I said, "Yes." She's a subscriber, and she can't wait to hear all about this show.
Oh my goodness! Wow, that is. I'm flabbergasted right now. Well, that is such a cool coincidence.
Yes, it is.
After the interview, I'll have to ask you who your acupuncturist is.
Yes, I will send you her information. She's a fan.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's fantastic. I got to get back on track here, and so I'm going to ask you, what does being foxy and foxiness mean to you, Chrisa?
The ability to love and accept all the parts of myself, both the shiny and light ones and the darker, more shadowy ones. The ability to accept myself as a whole and look in my mirror and say, yes, you can. The sensation of wholeness and empowerment, that is what is foxy for me, foxiness.
And who do you think embodies that foxiness in your world right now?
There are many women that I've found embody that in my life, but I want to say my mom. My mother has always been this woman who truly believes in herself and knows who she truly is as a person and as a woman. She has her flaws, she has her strong parts, but she is accepting of herself, and by being accepting and to herself, she's accepting other people as they are. And she's taught me a lot of things, but what I most love about her is that she's not judgmental. She's non-judgmental at all. She's just accepting people as they are. And this is so freeing as an emotion.
When it comes to this idea of foxiness and being confident of all of your parts, how do you bring this out in your clients?
That's a really good question. Most of my clients come to me because they are experiencing confidence-related issues. And it is this idea that I'm not good enough. I'm not thin enough. I'm not qualified enough. I'm not educated enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not smart enough. This sense of I'm not enough is what keeps us imprisoned in this idea. And there are many ways and many tools. I'm using hypnotherapy as a tool to bring that out in my clients. And everything I do is under the belief that we already have everything that we need. All we have to do is to awaken that goddess, that confidence, that power in us. And this is what I'm doing with the public speaking as well. We try to find our authentic voice, our unique voice, our Foxy voice.
I think as a man, this is actually pretty attractive. And I think, with the women that I've worked with over the years, I see a lot of this. And I don't know if it's American culture or maybe just women in general. I'm not exactly sure. But this idea of I'm not enough. And it starts boiling into, well, if I'm not enough, then I need to be doing more. I need to be giving more. And I see a lot of these women in my practice that are just giving and giving and giving, trying to live up to this standard of I'm not enough. And a lot of times it seems like there's a little voice in the back of their head that's telling them this. I call that the mean girl. You have this mean girl in your head. Don't listen to that mean girl. Do you find that this is kind of an American culture thing, or is this worldwide?
I believe this is universal. Some cultures have it more than others when it comes to how women perceive themselves. But that little voice, the mean girl, as you say, more or less we all have it. It's not only women. Men suffer from this too. But I wouldn't suggest to stop listening to this voice, because this voice is there to serve in a certain way, either to protect or to keep a positive intention. There is always a positive intention behind our voices that we hear. One of my friends, she says that we are all more or less on the schizophrenic spectrum. We hear voices. But this is something that we all experience. The idea is to identify the voice and just listen to this voice without any judgment. As I like to say, invite that voice into a tea party with all your other voices, the voice that says you can do it, and have them have tea together and see what comes up. Usually this voice has a positive intention that is around protection or safety. Once we communicate with that voice, and there are many ways to do that. One tool is hypnosis, other is journaling, for example, or acupuncture. I've found that people get to, and correct me if I'm wrong, get to connect with their bodies and their different parts as different parts in their minds, and begin the healing process. So once we connect to the positive intention of that voice, something really good happens. This voice becomes more compassionate, and it's not so vocal anymore, only when it needs to be. I know, I left you speechless.
It's such a heady concept to think, okay, how do I go about getting these voices to start talking to each other? And hypnosis and journaling, oh my goodness, yes, these are such powerful tools. Now, honestly, I hadn't considered acupuncture, but the way that you put that, it's like, yeah, when we start doing the work, and acupuncture and Chinese medicine, very holistic, addresses body, mind, spirit, and we're integrating all three in that one treatment. why couldn't you have that conversation while you've got your eyes closed on the table and things are beginning to integrate and change and transform?
Exactly.
This brings up the question, when somebody comes to see you for your expertise, I mean, this is pretty heady stuff. So what are some of the most common questions that you get when it comes to your work?
How can I find my unique voice? Everything has been said before. Why would anyone be interested in listening to me? Or I'm afraid I'm going to lose it on stage. Some people get the sensation that they're about to die when it comes to stepping up on stage and speaking, addressing an audience. And this is pretty common and culturally and within Americans. And there's a spectrum on other people come for their anxiety, other people for their phobias around public speaking. But there's a lot that we do with the body as well as the mind. I use a lot of body movement to help them break patterns of thought and create new patterns and behaviors when it comes to confidence, stress management, and public speaking.
Body movement. This is interesting because you're integrating mind and body. So I'm assuming these are more unconscious movements that people are doing, and then you're correcting those, or are you actually putting them more in, I guess, positions of power?
Exactly. Positions of power, and power posing is really big in my practice because it has the power to influence the way that we feel. For example, the famous Wonder Woman power pose, it has a miraculous effect on how confident we are. And I was posing like that just before I came on your podcast because, being a guest and being interviewed, it's something that can cause a little bit of stress. And I needed to access that confidence resource. And that was what I did, power posing in my office. And that works. I feel great right now. And this is something I always tell my speakers to do just moments before they get on stage or they present to that meeting or they have this one-to-one difficult conversation. Just do a little power posing, Wonder Woman-like. That will calm your nerves and give this free path to your prefrontal cortex where all your creativity and the great ideas that you have live.
I'm guessing you've probably seen some pretty amazing transformations in your clients. I'd like to hear about one of them if I could.
It was this woman who couldn't control her knees. Her body was giving her this really intense fight or flight sensations that she couldn't control her knees. And as a result, she couldn't stand up and speak. Once we tackled the body sensations, and I can give you the tool I used with her, we actually had her, I had her do push-ups before her speaking engagements, because that energy is building up. There's this, your mind is telling you, there is this threat. You're about to be exposed to a group of people that might reject you. And the reptilian brain is saying, go away, or freeze. By using some body movement as push-ups, and she would do that on a wall. She didn't have to drop on her knees and actually do the push-up.
Drop and give me 20, yeah.
Yeah. She was using that energy. She was using that nervousness into doing something physical. The moment she did that, she was able to better control her body, and the nervous level always went down. That for me was the first indication that what I teach really worked, because I tried it to myself and friends and relatives, but when I started having clients with serious problems, and I saw that these little techniques work, I was like, okay, yes, I'm convinced it works.
Yeah, that's amazing. Being able to integrate body and mind so that you can have the presence to be on stage or in front of people.
Presence is a key word here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's something I've definitely had to deal with myself. Podcasting's not so bad because generally people aren't going to see you. But when I actually do have to get up in front of people, boy, having that tool to create a good, solid, confident presence is crucial. And a lot of what I've ended up doing is, I don't know if you're familiar with Qigong exercise, but just the centering and thinking about that space, 3 finger widths below the belly button, 3 finger widths in towards the spine, and just thinking and feeling into that space prior to me stepping forward in front of people really keeps me grounded and solid and gives that impression that even though I'm shaking inside, but I don't shake on the outside. And then it gives that impression to people that, oh yeah, boy, he really knows his stuff. He's confident up there.
Yes, that's a wonderful tool to use as well.
Yeah, Qigong's interesting stuff. That's definitely not something we need to go into right at the moment, but I certainly recommend that for people, whether it's Tai Chi, Qigong, or yoga, or some kind of body-mind integration practice. This is really good stuff.
It is truly. I'm using what I think is a Qigong energizing, body energizing, and helping people become more present on stage. And it's this cupping with the hand along the way, all over the body, and feet, the belly area, the back of the body, and it creates this awareness. And some people say they get this vibration and they can feel their body awake. You probably have to say more on that. But this is something I'm using, and I find Qigong is a wonderful tool to create awareness and being present in the moment.
You bet. Do you personally have any daily practices that you do to help you be more confident?
That is an excellent question. I use a lot of positive affirmations, journaling, meditation, a little bit of Qigong, some interesting YouTube videos I've found online. And I believe that's it. Every now and then, if I have time, a short walk outside. We're too much in our heads and our screens. So taking the time to actually go outside and walk is precious.
You bet. That's reconnecting with nature is such a big thing. One of my teachers actually said, if you're so far up in your head, you're feeling that anxiety, you go out into the yard, into the grass, barefoot, and just stand there and feel the connection between your feet and the earth. And I'll be darned if that hasn't worked for me a couple of times where was just buzzing with nervous energy. Took my shoes off, took my socks off, went and stood in the grass for a few minutes, and it was just, oh, there we go. That's so much better.
I believe that has a name. It's called earthing.
Yes, I have heard that term. I haven't really done too much research on it, but yeah, I hear it's a thing. And speaking of thing, what would be the number one thing you could leave our listeners today with on how to bolster their own confidence?
Examine your life. Examine your life by noticing what your thought patterns are and how do they make you feel. If they're not so positive, think about how to become a little bit more compassionate towards yourself. And once you do that and examine your life, this is the moment when you realize who you truly are. And this is precious because once you know who you truly are, there's nothing that can crash your confidence.
There's going to be somebody listening to your voice, and they're going to want to know how in the heck they can find you so that they can start working with you. How do we find out about you?
I'm all over social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, thecrisagroup.com. And I'm here for anyone who wants to explore a little bit more about how to become more confident and find their unique voice and bring their Foxy self into this world.
I couldn't have said that better. Well, you hear it, ladies. www.thecrisagroup.com will have the link there in the show notes. Chris is also a TEDx speaker. We'll have the link to her TEDx talk that you can also see. A very inspirational talk. I saw it and went, wow, yeah, she's got to be on the show. So definitely check that out. We'll have the link there. And Chrisa, our time is up, if you can believe it.
Yes,
it just
time
goes by
flies.
so fast talking to these amazing women like Chrisa. So, Chrisa, I just want to thank you and honor you for doing the amazing work that you're doing and bringing more women into that confident, powerful space where they can go out and have an impact on their world. So thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you for letting me share that through your podcast. Thank you for having me, Terry.
You bet.